Welcome to the Website Success Show, the podcast dedicated to helping women in business make the most of the content they're already creating so they can get more traffic and sales through their website with less reliance on social media and paid ads. I'm Jules White, the founder of the Website Success Hub, and I love helping course creators, podcasters, and business owners make more money through their existing website. If you have a business you love but you don't love the way your website performs, then this is the show for you.
Hey, happy Friday. So today I want to talk about how AI helps me in my business and how it can help you to get unstuck, free up more time and become more creative. This episode's all about the business side of using AI, but you're curious about how AI helps with websites and SEO specifically. I'm going to cover that in a future episode. So look out for that one and let me know if you have any specific questions on using AI for websites or SEO. But today I want to focus on how we can use AI to help us in our businesses. We do so much. When we're running a business, it can feel completely overwhelming, especially if it's just you or you have a small team. But today I want to share how I use AI to help make things easier and get rid of some of that mental load. The main thing I want you to take away from this episode is that the more you use AI, the better you get at using it, the better results you're going to get, and the more you're going to want to use it. So I would definitely say don't be scared to use it. A lot of people are scared of using tech, but AI is so simple and easy to use. I mean, scared as in just not making the most of it and just not using it as you can, really. When I'm talking about AI, I'm talking about using tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, anything where you've got automations within systems, anything where there's a computer really helping you to do something. You know, not using AI necessarily if it's just a computer program or something, but if there's AI within that program, give it a try. Some of them are really good. Most of them are very good. Some of them are awful at the moment, but they're all getting better. And essentially it's just helping you to plan or do tasks that are part of running your business, the things that you need to do every single day in your business, whether it's things that you enjoy doing or you don't enjoy doing. Either way, there's bound to be a way that AI can help to make it easier, maybe more fun, and help you to be more efficient and more creative and get better results. It's just so incredible how much you can get from using AI that I definitely would encourage you. If you're not using it or you're only using a small amount, then give it a try and see what it can do for your business, really. So a couple of questions that sometimes come up is that thinking AI is too complicated or that it's only for bigger companies or that it's just not going to work for you. But it's actually really simple to get some great results. I'm going to talk about how I use it in my business, even just how I've used it over the last week or so, really. But I find that the results that I'm getting are getting better and better. There's not really a barrier to entry in terms of using AI. If you haven't tried it or if you've used it very little, you don't need to be tech savvy to use AI. It's really simple and you can get some really great results. And most of the tools where they have AI built in, they're actually pretty intuitive to use. So you don't even really need to think too much about how to use it. And if you do get stuck on how to use something with AI, you can ask the AI itself how to help you. You can, that's one of the great things is that you can actually ask it to help you to make using it easier, if that makes sense. So there's so much that I could talk about. I use AI so much in my business, in my personal life, and I could actually talk for hours about the different ways I use AI in my business. I'm going to just talk about a few examples of how I've used AI in the last week or so. I hope it will be helpful and just spark some ideas of how you could also use it to help you in your business. Today, I'm actually exhibiting at a local business expo. I'm excited. I haven't done anything like this before, so it's a new thing for me entirely. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I massively use ChatGPT in particular. I've used a little bit of Google Gemini as well, but I've massively used ChatGPT to help me get ready for it and just get ready for the events. And I've booked it a couple of months ago, so I've had a couple of months leading up to it. In typical me style, I've been doing everything this week. So I did a few bits, but I'm such a last minute Larry. I really am. It's terrible. Even that could be something I could ask ChatGPT to help me to avoid doing that and the reasons why I do that as well. I'm exploring why I behave the way I do, as well as trying to improve that, really. But some of the things that it has helped me with is things like coming up with ideas of what to promote. I did want to try and keep my promotions fairly simple and not have too much. I've got a few different things to put on the table to help me have more conversation starters than anything really. But I wanted to focus on promoting my Google Business Profile optimization, my power hours, and then my SEO recommendations audit. So those are the three things that I'm going to be mainly focusing on promoting. It's more sort of my one-to-one services really that I'm promoting. So I first of all started a brand new chat with ChatGPT and with Google Gemini, because as I do use both and sometimes get better results in one and sometimes get better results in the other one. But I started a new chat with each, and I think I may have put into it some of the information I had from the original sales page about us joining the expo as an exhibitor. And I put in some information on that chat about some basic things on my business, what I wanted, like the ideas of what I wanted to promote. Obviously, bear in mind that ChatGPT already knows things about my business because of some of the things that I've saved in the menu. So it already knew that I was a web and SEO consultant. It already had an idea about my ideal clients and the offers that I have in my business. So if you're starting from scratch, brand new ChatGPT account, or you've not really used it very much, or you've not really trained it very much, then you could add in some extra information there about this is specifically what I do, this is who I help, this is what my offers are, those kind of things, really. These are the kind of problems my audience had. But I put that into a chat and said, I'm exhibiting at this expo in however many weeks. Help me come up with some ideas of what to promote. We brainstormed and we talked through what I was going to promote on the day, the reasons why that would be a good thing to promote versus this thing, what I needed to plan. So what I needed to do and the stages I needed to do it. Obviously, it told me to prepare way in advance of today. I did it this week anyway. I wanted to create one of these big pull-up banners. I've never created something like that before. I asked my local networking group in the chat, I asked them for some great ideas there and some inspiration from what they have got on theirs, and they all shared their pictures of theirs, and we all had a bit of a brainstorm there, which was really nice. It's nice to brainstorm with real people as well as ChatGPT. But then I was in Canva trying to design it. I had the kind of ideas of a few other people's and what they had on theirs. I knew that I wanted the words mainly towards the top. I knew I needed an image on there, which was tough, trying to create an image for that. And actually that was something else where ChatGPT helped me. I did a little photo shoot for myself. I wasn't going to be able to get a photo shoot in the meantime. So I just did some pictures of me on my desk with my laptop, took some new pictures, and they were great. I was really pleased with them. But on one of them, I think I talked about this last week actually, but I cut my arm off and I used AI to help me. I used Mid-Journey to help make that look better, to remove the background. And I actually used Canva to remove the background. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. I've got now this image on my pull-up banner of myself. And I was just struggling a little bit with the layout. I'm not a designer. I have designed websites. I've obviously built websites, but design is not my strong point, especially blank pages. That's where I really struggle. So I asked ChatGPT to create an image of the banner for me. And actually, it was really good. It looked rubbish because with AI, when you ask it to create words, it messes up on that and it can't actually do that well. But it created just a visual for me of how the banner could look. It was really helpful. It just helped me get over that sort of hurdle of I'm not sure what to do with this and what to put where and how to get across what I want to have on there. That was really helpful. I think just having that non-blank page made such a big difference. I was thinking about what I was going to have on the table and the layout for my table. I've got some stands to put posters in and things like that. But I was sort of thinking, what can I do? I can't visualize it. I talked about this maybe last week as well, about my brain doesn't work in terms of when I close my eyes, I don't create a picture in my mind. I think a lot of people are like that as well. But like I hear the words in my mind and I can kind of think of something, but I actually don't get pictures in my mind. So I couldn't really think about what I wanted the table to look like. I asked ChatGPT to help me create an image of how my table could look. And this is obviously all within one chat. So it understands the context of what we're talking about there. And it came up with some stuff that was, again, really helpful. It made me think about finding a picture frame that we had in the cupboard and actually creating some stuff for that. And because I was sort of thinking, oh, it's going to be boring. There's not going to be a lot to grab people's attention. And actually, even just that, having that thing of, oh, yeah, I could do that. And I could maybe have gone onto Pinterest or something like that and looked for ideas for an exhibition table. What should I have? But it was just a really quick way for me just to get my brain engaged and get my brain moving on that as well. So that was really helpful. That's definitely going to be helpful in terms of me just being able to think about what else I need for the table and how things are going to be laid out, really. And then I asked it to think of ideas for things that I might not have considered. So things about this expo that might not have even entered my brain, those kind of things. And it came up with some great stuff. It came up with having maybe a list of start questions. So a small list there of some things I can just ask people if they come over, because it's always awkward. And I'm definitely awkward and geeky in this kind of thing. I can talk to people once the conversation is flowing, then I can talk to people. And I am actually really good at asking people about their business and those kind of things. I definitely feel more awkward as the person walking up to the stand. And I think if the person at the stand has some good questions to ask you when you come over, that immediately takes away that awkwardness. And so, yeah, it came with some questions about like, what are your biggest challenges on your website right now? Or are you happy with the amount of traffic you're getting to your website? I would never have probably thought of that myself in terms of actually just thinking, what am I actually going to talk to people about when they come over to the stand, really? It also came up with ideas. So once I had decided I've got this poster frame or picture frame, I can put something in there. It came up with some ideas of what I could actually put in there. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll have a big headline in there just to grab people's attention from across the room. And we brainstormed what would be a good thing to have in there and what the pros and cons are of the different headlines. And yeah, it sounds like that was a very complicated process. It actually wasn't. It probably took a couple of minutes of just going back and forth of, okay, this is what I'm going to have in there. And that's why, and it will get people's attention. And also the thing of actually getting over those nerves and those hesitations about doing an event like this. It also helped me with that as well. It helped me to think of some reasons why it will go well and those kind of things that I think actually, even just having somebody there to say, yeah, you got this. I think that's another way that I tend to use AI quite regularly in my business, really, to help me with that. So the second big way that I use AI every single week in my business without fail is on creating the podcast. I use it for everything between coming up with ideas, recording and editing the show. I edit the show using Descript, and I can't remember if it's called Underlord or Overlord in Descript, which is their AI, the AI that's built into Descript, is fantastic. It's really, really good. It's not perfect. I would definitely say that. As with any AI, there's always blips. There's always things that could be better, but it is very, very good. First of all, it runs through and there's a button for edit for clarity. What it essentially does is it goes through and does a first sweep. It doesn't delete the stuff from the script. If you've never used a script and you're recording videos and needing to edit them, I would 100% recommend checking it out, because what it essentially does is allows you to edit a video as if it was a Google Doc. You have a transcript there, which is the transcript of the video. You can go in and you can actually select a word and then cross it out, and it will take it out of the video immediately. It's amazing. So what it does is it essentially goes through and it crosses out some bits that it thinks where it helped it to sound more clear. It helps to remove filler words. It helps to remove, if you're repeating or doing retakes, it helps to remove that as well. So it does that. And I've found that alone saves me a massive amount of time. Every week, if I was going through and doing that manually, because I didn't realize that you could use this. So I used to do that manually. I used to go through and manually take away those filler words. And it does take time to do that, even though it is a lot faster than it would have been if I was using a normal video editor. It does make it a lot faster doing it that way. And it does help with the clarity, that things that I maybe wouldn't necessarily realize I should take that out. But when I take it out and I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds so much clearer. So it's almost like an intern going through and doing that first sweep. I really find that helps me a lot. also adds chapters as well. It creates a transcript for my video, which that's really helpful. Well, the transcript is in itself is so valuable. It normally does a pretty good job of creating the transcript. I find that if I am looking at it, it's rare that it gets words wrong. Occasionally it does. Occasionally it will skip a few words and you can go in and correct them. But it normally does, I would say 99% of the time it gets it really spot on. So once I've done that and taken it out of Descript, published over to where my podcast is hosted, I then take that transcript and pop that into ChatGPT and actually Google Gemini. And I find Google Gemini right now is better at actually doing what I want it to do to edit the transcript. So when I've got the transcript, it's often you get big chunks of text. So I've got a prompt that I use as part of my SOP, so my standard operating procedure, my process of creating a podcast. I have a step-by-step process that I follow every week. And the reason I do that is that takes away that cognitive load of me having to remember what I do every week. I don't have to worry about what's the next step in my podcast creation process because I just literally go in and check it off the checklist. And that's one thing that is a absolute game changer in my business, is having those checklists of this is how I do things. It just allows me to keep my brain free for the other creative stuff I need to do, really. So I will go through, I have this prompt that I copy and paste into ChatGPT, and it says, this is the transcript from my latest podcast. And this is already a conversation where we've started talking about the podcast because I use ChatGPT to help me with brainstorming ideas and coming up with clarity. And just when I'm actually then recording, having some notes that help me to have a clearer structure to the podcast. So it already understands what this week's podcast is about, but I'll put that transcript in and I ask it to change it to UK English, make it easier to read without actually changing the structure and the content of the transcript. So I want it to be a true transcript, but easier to read and using UK English. And actually, I'm saying ChatGPT, I use Google Gemini now for this part because Google Gemini does it and it retains the original length, whereas ChatGPT right now, it can't do that for some reason. Quite often, if it's about a half-hour podcast, that'll be about 6,000 words, and ChatGPT will send out an 1,800-word transcript afterwards. But despite me saying, keep the original length, don't remove sections, keep it at the specific rough amount of words it should be. And Google Gemini seems to handle that better. It still breaks it up a little bit. So I find it will maybe do the first third, and then I'll have to say continue, and then it will do the second third, and then the third. And I just go in and then take out those prompts where I've said continue. But yeah, if you're trying to just make transcripts more readable, try Google Gemini for that because it seems to be better at the moment. And the reason I do that as well is because then that gives me something I can quickly get onto my website. And got out of the habit of doing this over the last couple of weeks. And I have noticed that the amount of people finding my podcast and the amount of downloads has dropped a little bit in November. That could be to do with things going on in the world. November has been a month, really. We've also got Black Friday. And when I looked, actually, October is one of the peak podcast months. This is my first year of podcasting. I wasn't too aware of where those seasons are. I had heard it's quite seasonal, but apparently October is a really big month for podcasting. And then November does traditionally tend to drop off in listener numbers. But one of the things I haven't been doing over the last couple of weeks is I haven't had time to get it onto my website as an individual web page for each episode. So it's one of my jobs to actually get that sorted and get it on there, get those recent episodes on there, because that helps with people finding the podcast organically. And we'll see what happens in December, whether that actually does make a difference. But that's a bit of a tangent. I'm going off on there anyway. So having that transcript there in a readable format makes it easier for me to then create what I'm currently calling a blogcast, where I will actually just put the transcript onto the website. Then I will go back and make those into proper blog posts. But even just having that there, it means that it is a subject that's associated with the website. And it's a way that people can enjoy the content, whether they want to listen to it. There's a direct link to the podcast from the website. But it also, and when I'm writing emails, when I'm sharing the information about that particular episode, I can then link directly to my website rather than linking over to my podcast hosting platform like to Buzzsprout, which that all helps with website traffic. It all helps with Google understanding that there's new content on my website as well. And it is really important to do. We'll see what a difference that makes in terms of website visitors and podcast downloads from getting back into doing that regularly. We just had a few busy Fridays. It's my excuse for not being able to do that and getting it into my website straight away. I will then go back into ChatGPT. I create a show description and I'll ask it for some help around naming the show. What I actually do with this is I have my own edited versions from previous episodes as an example of how I like the description to look. And then that way I get something that sounds more like me. I do ask it to use UK English. Essentially, I have something that helps me to get consistent show descriptions every week and for it to sound like the kind of language that I use. And I will always go in and edit it. And quite often what I'll do is if I've got one that sounds really good and I've edited it and it sounds spot on for my voice, I will change that prompt I use every week for the latest one. It helps me get better responses from ChatGPT or Google Gemini if I give it examples of my own voice and how it sounds really. So I do that. Then I create an outline for an email as well. I have previous emails in the prompt that I use. Once we've created the show notes and the description, I'll use that to create an email rather than using the transcript. And that's purely from playing around with it, trying different things when I first started doing this. And I always find I just get a much more concise and much more relevant email if I use the description rather than the actual transcript. Otherwise, it just can't hone in enough on what the real core topics are of the podcast episode, really. And I just end up with an email that doesn't sound very good. I find that I don't have to make as many tweaks as I used to because it does a very good job of sounding like me and what I want to say in these emails. Occasionally I've had to say, is that actually true? Where it maybe will say in this week's podcast, you'll find out this, and this, or you'll learn how to do this, and this. And I have to say, well, actually, no, are they going to learn that or are they going to learn about the topic? So even just doing that and having those conversations with ChatGPT helps me to prompt it in a way to make sure that it does stay true to what I'm actually delivering and that I am getting better results first time, really. Also, once I've done all that and I've done all the promotion that I want to on the podcast, I've got all of those kind of things out of ChatGPT that I needed to, or Google Gemini. I also then ask it for some feedback, and ChatGPT tends to be better at doing this. It's already got the transcript in there. So I then will ask it to evaluate the show and just let me know how I can improve the delivery, the clarity, the content of the show. I ask it to tell me what I did well and where I can improve, because I always like that. I mean, ChatGPT is generally good at constructive criticism anyway, but it always does tend to give me some feedback without me making me feel like, oh my God, that was a rubbish episode. I need to go and scrap that episode and re-record it. And I've especially found this has been helpful recently in terms of just allowing me to have a bit more structure to the episodes. I do sometimes feel like I am just rambling, but to feel generally like I'm not just rambling, that it is helpful. It tells me why people will find it helpful. It, helps me to remember which other episodes are relevant to mention, which is also, that's something that I'm building out my podcast database. And that's one of the big goals, because that will then allow me to link all of my content together, which is so important for SEO. And one of the most important things we can do in terms of linking our content is linking everything together and working out how all our content and all of that knowledge, everything that we're sharing with the world is working as much as it can. And it's all helping each other and it's helping people to binge our content and just help with that. So that's been good, because it can then come up with shows that I maybe had forgotten about, or and not creatively thinking about why this show links to that show and all of that kind of thing as well. So that's been really helpful. I think the process of having ChatGPT helping with this saves me hours every single week. And every time I do it, I'm getting a little bit faster at it. I improve the process. I improve the prompts that I'm using. I am using it in different ways, and it's massively, massively helping me to save time. And I feel like I've just scratched the surface in terms of how I can repurpose my podcast and use it to attract more listeners and clients. I feel like I've just scratched the surface with it, really. So I'm quite excited about how I can also use that to improve my own processes as well. If you're thinking about how AI can help you more in your business, what I would say is just start with one task. So if you've got one task that you want to simplify or you've been feeling stuck on, focus on that and see how AI can help you with that. So that might be brainstorming blog ideas, it might be writing emails, but just one small step that you can take today is to actually use the tool to help you to work out how to streamline the process. So you could try typing into ChatGPT or whichever AI platform you're using. So if you were thinking about creating blog post ideas and you want, brainstorming blog post ideas is the thing that you're sort of stuck on, try typing into ChatGPT, how can you help me to get better blog ideas, and see what it comes up with. And you'll have a starting point for that. Even if it's not perfect, if it just saves you hours of like staring at a blank page or creating stuff that's not working for your business. Just think of it as a starting point. Think of it as, how can I ask, or how can I get AI to help me use AI to make this this process simpler, really? And that sounds like that might be overcomplicating it, but it's amazing how it can come up with some really good ideas to help you make things easier to use moving forward as well. And some common questions and misconceptions around AI is that, a lot of people that you speak to will say, yeah, I used to use ChatGPT, or I've tried it, but I never get good results. They're always really generic, or it just sounds very AI written. If you've not tried it for a while, then try again, because it is so much better than it used to be. Some are better than others, but if you can improve the prompts, if you're finding you're getting rubbish results, especially out of ChatGPT, which is so advanced now, then it probably is that you need to refine your prompts a bit. So you need to be really specific about what you're asking it to do. Give it good context as well. Understand the specifics about what you're trying to achieve, who you're talking to. Train your chat, and also train ChatGPT in general. Train the memory so it understands some basic things about you. So every time you're talking to it, you're not training a brand new chat. And I would say try and keep your chats that are ones that you keep using. So I have a chat around my offers. I generally do a new chat each week for each podcast episode, but bearing in mind that ChatGPT understands a lot about me behind that in terms of my offers and those kind of things, really. I have a mindset chat that I use as well. I was talking about how I use mindset last week on the podcast, so have a little listen to that episode. But I have that. I have a menu planning chat. So have specific chats for specific things and keep using them, because the more you train them, the better they get. And you might need to remind it every now and again. Like if it goes off on a bit of a tangent, you can ask it whether it needs you to remind it about certain things. But yeah, train your chats, create Google Docs as well. When you get some really good answers in ChatGPT, take them out and put them into a Google Doc so that you can keep that information there. And you can always feed that Google Doc back into ChatGPT if you need to. So I have some Google Docs. I have one folder in my Google Drive called Info Base. And this is where I keep all of those Google Docs start IB. So if I ever want to search for something around my core things of who I help, what I do, my brand voice, those kind of things, I just type into my search bar on Google IB, and then it will come up a list of about 6 or 7 documents that are all about my business. I can quickly take those and pop them into a new chat, or pop them into an existing chat if I need to. And it then immediately is a way of training the chat without having to go in and train it every single time. And you can then go in and update that Google Doc, and then you've got an up-to-date version of it. So I would definitely recommend doing that about your brand, your business, your customers, examples of your work, examples of your messages as well. So when you write an email that sounds just like you, and it sounds really good and exactly how you want your future emails to sound, have that in there as an example. And you would actually say, this is an example text. Do not take any content out of it. This is just for example. And that way it's not going to affect the output you get, other than guiding the tone of what you're saying with. And if one AI tool isn't working for you, then try a different one. And I do this all the time. I will use ChatGPT and Google Gemini, and sometimes I get good results from one, and sometimes I get good results from the other. A lot of people use Claude or Perplexity and get really good results from them. But try different ones and see what works for you. See what you like, see what you enjoy there in the interface, see what you find easiest. Sometimes you might find that you use one for one thing and the other for something else. So I do with Chatty and Google Gemini, really. And then the second common question that comes up is whether AI is replacing our creativity. And I don't feel like it is. I feel like if you think of it as a tool to support that creativity, it gives you a starting point. I feel like every single day in my business, whichever AI tool I'm using, it helps me to unlock creativity in my own brain and just unlock ideas that I've never thought of. And it can help me just to clarify things and helps me become more creative. And it will help to take some of those everyday tasks off of your plate, or at least out of your brain space, so that you can then have more space for the creative things and focus on the things that you want to be doing as well. So I would love you to give AI a try for something different in your business this week. So if you just start with one task that you've been procrastinating on or feeling stuck with, maybe writing a blog post or thinking of questions that your audience might ask or brainstorming how to improve your client experience, try using a tool like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or even something like Canva AI assistant. Try them. And if you see AI there, give them a try. Try different ones, see what happens. Most of them are very intuitive and very easy to use. And the more you use them, the better you're going to get at giving in prompts, the better answers you'll get out of those results as well. And the goal isn't to create something perfect. It's to get a starting point, let your ideas flow, and then take those ideas and make them your own, really. And if you're feeling stuck or if you've got questions about this, you can reach out to me. You can either text the show, leave a comment in the Facebook group, or send me an email with your questions. And I'd love to know how AI is helping you to make running your business easier, or if you would like it to, really. And if you're curious about how I use AI outside of my business, check out last week's episode, which is episode 47, where I talked about how AI helps me in my personal life. I shared how I use it for things like meal planning, to mindset coaching, to even creating a personal motto. I talked about how I used it to that. It's a really fun look at how these tools can make everyday life just a little bit easier, a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative. So remember also to look out for that future episode on how to use AI to help with websites and SEO. I'm excited about that one. That may end up even being a couple of episodes or 3 episodes because there's so much that we can do with that as well. And if you want some help with this, if you feel like you're not using AI as you would like to, you feel like you'd like to be more creative about using AI, then book a power hour and we can have a brainstorm about how AI can help you in your business and how it can help you the most, really. I would love to do that with you. So if you'd like to do that, then visit my website and book a power hour. And remember that using AI doesn't have to be complicated and it isn't about replacing you. It's essentially about freeing up you to do what you love the most and what your clients value the most about you as well. So have a great weekend. I will be cold water swimming this weekend again, as usual. Last week, it was down to 8.5 degrees. Once we get down to single digits, it's when the serious swimmers come out. I love it this time of year. It's amazing. It's so good. So have a good one and I'll see you soon. Bye.